Welcome to Jude, the podcast. I'm David Jude. I'm your host for the show. Thank you again for joining us on another episode. And as always, I hope you enjoy the show. I think you will. We appreciate everyone listening and the downloads and the shares and everything you're doing to help us make the podcast a continued success. So thank you. Listen, meet my friend, longtime friend, exceptional person, Miss Jill Seyfred. Jill is the executive director for Prevent Child Abuse Kentucky. She's been there for a little while now, but that's simply a testament to who she is, the organization itself, and all the things that go with it. I think you'll enjoy the show for two different reasons. One, if you're interested in how a nonprofit can be successful. So maybe in your lives you're volunteering or helping with nonprofits, or maybe you're going to start one. There's a lot of lessons that Jill can share with you. I can just simply tell you from being associated with Prevent Child Abuse Kentucky a few years back that it is a incredibly successfully ran nonprofit. There's a lot of lessons in how they do what they do. Most importantly is who they help, which, as you'll hear, if we can do anything as a society to prevent child abuse, even just to one child, then it becomes worth doing. So listen in. So maybe you're looking for, how do I get involved with a nonprofit? Or maybe I want to help someone, a nonprofit, and I'm not really exactly sure where I want to put my dollars to, or my company's dollars to, or how we get involved. Well, listen, there's not a better organization than Prevent Child Abuse Kentucky. I can just tell you right up front, the way they do their business, the way they handle things, the way that they are involved, and the outreach that they have across Kentucky is second to none. There's just no better way to say it. It's second to none. And even if you're not in Kentucky, Prevent Child Abuse America, I'm going to call it like a parent umbrella organization. There's Prevent Child Abuse organizations across the country. So I know we have listeners in other places. Again, all I can do is just direct you to your local Prevent Child Abuse office, but you'll find that's money well spent. Anyway, listen in. It's a great show. Jill shares a lot of insight with us, a lot of knowledge, a lot about the education, the different programs that they have, and a lot of things coming up in 2024 that her office is spearheading. So a lot of good stuff here. Enjoy the show. As always, we'll have Prevent Child Abuse Kentucky's information in our show notes. And while you're there, you might as well check out our sponsors too. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate it. Enjoy the show. See you next time. Well, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're with us. This will be fun.
I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for listening. Thanks for joining in. That'll do it. That's our show. I'm kidding. You were looking at me like, I don't know. We've been talking this whole time until Amanda hits the record button. And suddenly it's like, you can feel the air go out of the room. I was like, all right.
Oh, God.
This will be something.
It will. You don't know what, but it'll be something.
I started to order something to have here, and time just got out of my way, but I felt like I was missing something for you being here today. You want to guess what I would have ordered?
A pink apron.
Yes, that's exactly. Did you read that on my paper?
No, I did not.
Yep. A pink gingham apron. I was like, I really need to order that and wear it for when you come in the door.
That would have been something.
I know. Because it would have been great on the wall. Maybe I'll still order it. I'll just send it to you to sign it or something. You can send it back.
No, I'll come back.
Okay, it's a date.
Yeah. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
We could have made one out of paper.
Oh, we could have done anything.
If you'd have just mentioned it, I would have had that done for you today.
Yeah, she would have. Instead, I hold on to the secret like it's this big nugget of this big surprise thing instead of actually making it happen.
She would have loved that more.
Yeah, no kidding.
That would have been awesome.
Yeah. So
but alas, you did not do it.
We will have to get it done.
Explain it for the audience.
Yeah, so it's, I guess, us talking about next jobs or next life, and you going back to Michigan or something like that and working in a diner, or was there a specific diner?
It was called the Pink Elephant.
The Pink Elephant.
And it is still there in beautiful downtown Hart, Michigan.
Yeah.
And the Pink Elephant is what you think it is. And so, yeah, we talked about, oh gosh, I'm going to go and I'm going to wear my pink apron and I'm going to wear my white waitress shoes.
Yep. The Diet Coke and with the crunchy ice.
That's right.
Oh, yes.
Fried chicken.
We should have catered that. We should have DoorDashed that. I mean, getting a salad is expensive enough. I can imagine that DoorDashing from Hart, Michigan.
I'm not saying it still won't happen, but it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, so I was going to have that here.
Okay. Well, I appreciate the thought.
Yeah, we'll make it happen still. It needs to go on the wall. We have a lot of concert shirts you can see behind us.
A pink apron would look good.
It would be as good of a conversation piece as anything else on the wall.
I'd like to know what else is on the list.
Okay. You ready? Ready to transition to the next on the list?
I'm ready.
Your Tigers.
Tigers.
What's going on with your Tigers?
We are actually above 500 this season.
Are you?
Yes. You look skeptical. Yes, I know that this is hard to believe. But yes, after 7 years, we are above 500. Now, I think we're only 2 games above 500. And we just got swept by the Yankees over the weekend. It was not a good showing. But at this point, I will take an entertaining, somewhat competitive team over where we've been.
So that's what reminded me of it. I was watching one of the games, Tigers-Yankees games over the weekend, and I was thinking they were way under 500, but I don't remember. They're at over 500.
Over 500.
Well, they've got a chance. I know it's just May.
They're fourth in their division out of 5 teams, which I know doesn't sound great.
It's the top 80%.
No, but they're only,
of the division.
I think they're only 4 games out of first. And it's May. Well,
4 games is nothing.
That's right.
Yeah. I was thinking, I haven't followed baseball. I haven't followed really any sports in a long time. Probably as political as it seems like the sports landscape got a few years ago. I kind of just removed myself from it. But
you have not asked me about see, there we go. Amanda's bringing it up.
Yeah. Look at that.
See?
Shut the front door. 2 games over 500.
Do I know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. Yeah. You want to know the truth? Right there it is.
There it is.
Yeah. I think the Guardians is one of the dumbest names that's ever been introduced in sports.
How did that even happen? I mean, I know how it happened.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to actually answer that.
Shoot,
but,
thank goodness.
but, I mean, yeah, no.
I tried to think of it the other day. I was watching one of their games, and I thought, it's hard for me to watch one of their games because it should still be the Indians.
I know. And it's not, I mean, I understand. But if you grew up thinking.
Yeah, it's the Indians.
It's the Indians.
With that mascot and the whole 9 yards. And,
yes.
And I thought, well, if it was just the Guardians and you didn't have an opinion about the transition of the name, it's a good enough team name as any other team name that exists. But
I guess I don't understand why Cleveland had had a groundswell of support for changing their name, and the Braves don't. Legitimate question. I don't understand the difference.
We are so glad to have Ugly Tent as a sponsor to the show. My longtime friend Kenny Dietrich is a subject matter expert in modern survival, bushcrafting, and preparedness. As he challenges us on the show, be prepared for the disaster most likely to happen to you. But let me tell you, Ugly Tent is so much more than just disaster preparedness. you need to check out the website at uglytent.com. That's UGLYTENT.com for a complete list of their products, their classes, and all the services that Kenny offers. There's a lot that I think you'll find interesting at uglytent.com. Again, just a neat place to go. So whether it's for camping, maybe it's a hike, maybe it's just trying to be in the outdoors for a little bit, uglytent.com is filled with the products and the services that you want. Not to mention you have a true expert as a resource for you. Listen, while you're there, use the promo code JUDE, that's lowercase JUDE, and that code will get you 10% off your total purchase. That's a pretty good deal for some really cool stuff. Anyway, check out Kenny at uglytent.com. Yeah, you know what? I don't know the answer to that. I mean, I want to give a bunch of like cultural answers to say North versus South, but Cleveland's a hardworking blue collar town, and without knowing the answers, if you were to lump them in a category, I wouldn't think that they would be offended by the Indians. I think they would rally to support the team.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's what Atlanta did. I feel like Atlanta finally put their, and I could be completely wrong, but I feel like Atlanta finally put their put their foot down and said, we're not changing it because the Brave is brave or something like that. But it's like, it's still an Indian. I mean, they're Indians, so that I don't know.
And of course, the Washington football team
how dumb
changed their name.
Yeah. And I guess, again, if you took the Commanders as a standalone name without knowing the history of it, it's probably a fair enough name. But that one seems completely lost.
I don't understand why they did not ask us.
That is the question of the day.
Yes.
No one consulted us.
No. Now, you know what team you have not asked me about?
The big Wolverines.
Yes.
The Blue and the Maize.
15-0 national champion.
Yeah. Goodbye, coach. Yeah.
Now, why'd you have to say that? We were getting along so well. We were going along this path, talking sports.
Yes. What about your Wolverines being undefeated national champs?
It was such a happy fall. Like the whole fall was happy.
That's a big deal to make it undefeated like that.
It was.
And I didn't keep up with Harbaugh, and I don't know what was it the cheating scandal? Is that what the suspension was for? Stealing something?
He got suspended twice.
In the same season?
In the same season.
And still went undefeated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now he's living out of an RV in the San Diego Charger, or actually, is it San Diego?
San Diegans.
I mean, they're not called Los Angeles Chargers, are they? Or are they called?
That's a great question. I still think I'm of San Diego.
I do too. But are we old school?
I don't know. We'll look it up here in a second and we'll find out what the...
Anyway, whatever team he's with, he is living in an RV in their parking lot.
Is it in the parking lot?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good for him. You kind of have to move after that type of season, I think.
Well, when they offer him multi-million dollars.
LA Chargers.
LA, okay.
Yeah.
What do you think of that color blue?
I like it.
Is that like a powder blue?
Maybe a powder blue?
Cobalt.
Cobalt
Did
you read
blue?
that somewhere?
No.
Oh, I was like, wow.
You should be impressed.
I am very impressed. I'm like,
We both are.
cobalt. Where did that come from?
This brain.
Yeah, I don't mind it. Do you not like it?
It's not Michigan blue.
I know.
That's the right answer.
I know. Are you trying to get you're still blue and yellow now that you're thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, no, I like it. I like it.
Are you now a Chargers fan?
I am.
I love it.
I'm fickle. Chargers, Lions, Chiefs. Not necessarily in that order.
Yeah. I kind of like the Lions. I was happy they had a big year.
Gosh, you got to love the Lions. I mean,
Yeah.
they haven't done anything for, what,
Ever?
70 years?
Ever.
Yeah, I was happy for them. Yeah.
Yeah. I went to a game a couple years ago. It was, it was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you a fan because of the coach, Harbaugh?
Yes.
Yeah. That's where I was getting to with like the baseball stuff over the weekend. I keep saying, I don't really follow a team anymore. I don't really follow a team of anybody anymore. I feel like
because everybody moves around? Or
yeah, I don't know what it is. I started reflecting back on maybe I've never really followed a team. It's always loved Cal Ripken with the Orioles. And so a big fan of that and would follow Cal Ripken, Ken Griffey Jr., of course. And I guess I've always followed UK and the Reds, but I don't feel any draw to any team for any sport, really. I feel like a void is in my life.
Sorry.
Like, I know. It started to hit me over the last couple of weeks. Like I should be picking a team, but every time I try to pick a team, I thought, why am I picking this team?
Well, I really do think, because back when we were growing up, players would stay with the team, whether you're talking college or pro.
Yeah.
Like they would stay.
Yeah.
No knock against anybody.
Yeah.
Personal choice, great. But it's hard to develop those allegiances when they're moving around all the time.
Yeah. And I think part of it for me is there's so much information.
Oh, gosh.
So good, right, wrong, good or bad.
Yeah.
By the time you pick somebody, then there'll be some type of propaganda that's out there to say, why am I picking this person? So it's been bad for me, I guess. But to the Reds, I thought, well, that Ellie De La Cruz is their shortstop.
Yeah.
He's pretty
I don't really
exciting.
know anything about the Reds.
Yeah. They're up in Cincinnati. I wasn't sure how much you didn't know. I thought maybe we'd start there.
Their colors are red.
They're red.
They're red.
Shockingly, they're.
I remember Johnny Bench.
Yeah. See, that's close. Yeah. Yeah. So their shortstop's pretty entertaining, I guess would be the word, but big hitter, good fielder, throws it. He just threw a ball from shortstop to first, like a 106, 107 miles per hour or something like that. I mean,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, he missed the first baseman with it, but
details.
Yeah, those are small details. You can work on that later. So I thought, well, that's pretty exciting. Maybe I'll follow the Reds. But
so what about Pete Rose? Do you think that he should not be banned?
Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame 1 million times out of 1 million votes. Yeah. Yeah.
Amanda?
I would agree.
Okay.
Jill?
I agree.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, there you go. No one's called us on that either.
No.
But if they listen to this, there's 3 votes who have collectively
That's
spent
it.
probably
We're not listeling to this anymore.
Yeah. In the last decade, we've collectively maybe spent $6 on baseball. So we have a really vested interest in this. Yeah, to not have Pete Rose in the Hall of Fame that's absolutely horrible.
Well, especially now with betting being legalized.
Yes. Yep.
There's athletes coming out that are betting that it seems like nobody's even caring that they're betting.
Yeah. And
so it just seems really silly that. And I always think, there's probably a lot more to that story that the rest of us don't know. And
the Pete Rose story or the current betting story?
Pete Rose story.
Okay.
Why would Pete Rose still be banned? How long has that been? 30 years?
Oh, gosh.
Maybe longer than that. It'd be close, wouldn't it? So, I mean, why would he still be banned with the way the world is? It just seems... I'll say Paul Giamatti. That's the actor. Is it Bart? We got to beat Google here. Bart Giamatti? Bart something like that?
Bart Simpson?
Look at that. Bart Giamatti.
Oh.
You knew your Tigers were 2 over.
That says Bartlett, actually.
Well, those of us in the know. 89. Yeah, 89. So however many years that is. That's been a while back.
Wow.
It just makes you think that with the way of the world, and he's dead now, right? Giamatti's dead now. So
I thought you were going to say Pete Rose.
No, not yet. Yeah. But I think they're waiting on him to die, and then they'll put him in after he dies. And you're thinking, just do it now.
Seriously?
Oh, yeah, I think so.
Wow.
I think as soon as he dies, then the commissioner will come back around. And
that's sad.
It is sad. Yeah. So, I believe that, and then that makes me even madder to say, then just do it for him now. Let the man. I mean, that record will never be broken, I don't think.
No.
I don't think Cal Ripken's record will ever be broken. So, let the man have his thing there.
I agree.
Yeah. So
We're
maybe
all about love and peace.
Yeah. I'm thinking about following the Lexington baseball team. So I thought they're local and you can actually go there.
The Lexington Legends.
Thank God they're the Legends again.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Even though all the social media platforms are still calling them the Counterclocks.
I didn't.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I haven't noticed that.
I know that that's a reference to the horse industry, but I never really understood it.
I thought it was the dumbest name ever. I didn't, get into why they did it, but I think he was trying to create
something.
What was I going to say? Like a spirit or, an attitude about the name, like Savannah Bananas and some of the other craziness that are out there. I thought he was trying to maybe create some type of buzz about the name, but it
didn't work.
No, it didn't work. And you thought, did you not have a committee? Did you not listen to the committee? Or did you not have the right people on the committee? Did no one tell you that's a dumb name? But obviously they got the message because they changed it.
Yeah. Quickly.
The next season.
And they're back to using the same mascot, right? The guy with the mustache?
Yeah, I think so.
Right? So, yep.
Yeah, Big Al.
Yeah. That's somebody you
Big
could
L.
have.
Big L.
Yeah, that's somebody you could have on your podcast.
Big L?
Mm-hmm.
It'd be a limited conversation. I don't think they talk. We'd have to record it, see him shaking his head yes or no. Can you imagine like an hour and a half of yes or no questions?
It'd make for a great podcast title, though. Talking with balls. Something like that. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah.
Another pun.
Let's do it.
That was a ball pun.
Big L, come on.
Add it to the list.
Big L, bring your balls. We want Big L's balls. Yeah. 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 Anyway, we got that going on.
We are just a fountain of information.
Yeah, this has been great. But that's the only two intro things I had. You've covered the Pink Apron and the Tigers.
Well, I feel like we need to talk a little bit about Captain David.
Okay.
And how, that started. People who are listening may want to know about Captain David.
Yeah. What do we need to tell them?
Well, like how we even know each other.
Well, so we met through my service with Prevent Child Abuse Kentucky. So Jill is the executive director for Prevent Child Abuse Kentucky. How long you been there?
Since 1988.
The year prior to Commissioner Bartlett Giamonti.
You beat me to it.
Yes.
No one has
Yes,
ever
that
connected
year.
the dots
Until this day.
until this moment.
This day in history.
The nexus is Jill being with PCAK.
Who would have thunk
Who
it?
would have thunk it? We've uncovered it. That's why we're a private investigations firm.
Little did I know.
Yeah, so that's
So,
a little bit.
yeah,
You've been there for a
so-
little bit.
So you were asked to be on the board and you said yes.
Yeah.
And then according to you, you served on every committee that we had.
Listen, for the listeners, they have like 48 committees. They have committees to pick committees. And I feel like I was on all of them.
For the listeners, that is incorrect.
Thank you, Jill.
I mean, like 32 committees or something like that.
For the listeners, that is incorrect.
Still incorrect. It's what, 6, I think, or something.
I think it's 6.
Yeah. I didn't serve on all of them, I don't think.
I think you did.
Okay. Yeah, probably.
But there was only 6.
So one of the good things about PCAK, or Prevent Child Abuse Kentucky, because we need to talk about the organization and then maybe some of the parent companies. So we need to define what Prevent Child Abuse Kentucky is. But it is truly, I'll go first. It's a collective of professionals across the community. And it's truly a working board. And I think that's been a little bit different. Matter of fact, I've not really seen it replicated, especially the success that PCAK has. I've not really seen that replicated anywhere else. I see people try to make them working boards. But and I think that's one of the questions we need to get into here in a second is how do you get that out of your board members to I don't want to say expect. That's probably not the right word, but it's a working board.
It is a working board.
So you're not going to join PCAK and just show up or not show up. You're expected to be involved in it. And so it's a challenge, I think, but it has worked.
Thank you.
So let's back up a second. Let's define Prevent Child Abuse Kentucky. What is it? What's Prevent Child Abuse Kentucky?
We are a statewide nonprofit organization committed to preventing they
don't adjust.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, listeners. Got sidetracked a little bit here. Our mission is to prevent the abuse and neglect of Kentucky's children, and we do that in conjunction with over 300 partners across the state, of which
what a segue.
DPJ Consulting is a brand new partner of ours as of today.
We may be the latest partner to Prevent Child Abuse Kentucky.
You are.
See? I was afraid somebody may have come in the last hour or so.
Hot off the press.
Hot news.
Yes. So we could not do our work without partners. And a partner can be any entity. It can be a hospital. It can be a consulting firm. It can be a school. It could be a place of business. It could be the Cincinnati Red. Well, not the Cincinnati Reds, since we're in Kentucky and they're in Cincinnati, but it could be the Lexington Legends. It could be anybody. What we ask of that entity is that whatever your sphere of influence is, you are going to work with us and commit to working with us to help prevent child abuse and neglect within your sphere of influence. So how DPJ Consulting does that is going to be very different, obviously, than how a hospital does it or a school. So we want you to be able to be good ambassadors for PCAK. When you talk to people that may not know about us, we ask you to mention us. April is Child Abuse Prevention Month. I didn't notice if you had a lawn out here or not.
No, there's a sidewalk and mulch.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. But
well, there's a little bit of a lawn between the yeah.
But you have a window.
Yeah.
So you could put a yard sign in the window for Child Abuse Prevention Month. I'm wearing a
I know. I should have worn mine. I didn't think about that.
I think I might have one. We wanted to get a picture for the podcast.
Well, bust it out, sister. I'll wear it for the picture. Yeah.
So, we want to fit our mission into your life.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the other way around. We want to make sure that, in every community, in every town, in every, profession that we are talking about, it takes each one of us to prevent child abuse and neglect.
And you've been really effective at that. So how long has PCAK been around?
We have been in existence since 1987, and I was named director in 88.
So you're thinking about hiring a private investigator, huh? Think knowledge, experience, and trust. Think DPJ Consulting. Listen, we're the folks you want on your team. Whether it's a criminal matter, corporate, or administrative issue, or maybe something more personal, you need to make the right choice for you. Our house of expertise at DPJ Consulting can help you with investigations, and that can mean a whole lot of different things. pre-employment background checks, personal VIP security, and so much more. Check us out at dpjconsulting.com. Follow us on all of our social media platforms, or give us a call at 855-TEAM-DPJ. That's 855-TEAM-DPJ. Give us a call. It costs nothing to talk. It costs you everything if we don't. Yeah, I guess I knew that. How about that? Okay.
Yeah.
So for the listeners in Kentucky, and I'm assuming nationally, one of the things that they're going to recognize, because you said the blue pinwheel.
Yes.
And so every April in these communities across the state, you see the blue pinwheels displayed at different locations in your community.
Yes.
And so that's a work product of PCAK?
Yes. So the blue and silver pinwheels, a lot of times we say you may not know Prevent Child Abuse Kentucky, but if you've seen the blue and silver pinwheels, that's us.
Yeah.
So we want people to recognize their role. We want people to recognize that children are harmed. But more importantly, we want people to know that child abuse can be prevented. And so people might say, what's up with the pinwheel? But we view that as an opportunity to raise awareness. And it only takes one person making one connection. And then before you know it, it's a chain reaction. And, a hospital's involved, a school's involved, a place of business is involved. And so it's an opportunity to raise awareness and to increase the levels of involvement in a hopefully non-threatening way for each of us. And then our hope then is to sustain that involvement throughout the other 11 months. So we don't want to just be a one and done, April's Child Abuse Prevention Month. We want it to be somebody saw the pinwheels, somebody contacted us, somebody became a partner, and then it becomes a conversation. What else can I do? Who else do I know? Can I be on that podcast? Can I put a sign in my door? Can I've got a waiting room. Can I put literature in my waiting room? I know somebody who can be a sponsor for your Kids Are Worth It conference. I know somebody who, would like for one of your staff members to come and do like a lunch and learn for our employees. So it can be lots of different things depending upon your angle and who it is that you represent and how you want to be involved. So one size does not fit all.
By design.
By design.
And it's pretty effective, I think. What would you think? Do you think it's effective?
I would say as long as one child is being harmed, we're not as effective as we need to be. But I will say that with 320 partners across the state, 320 partners and growing, with effective programs, with a committed board, with, all different sorts of people involved, I would say where we are now compared to where we were in 1988, there's no comparison. Mm-hmm. I would also say that we are, there's like this paradigm shift that's going on nationally right now, where for so long there's been such an emphasis on making child abuse reports, and the Department for Community-Based Services then will go out and make an investigation, which they absolutely should do when there is a child in harm's way. But what we know is that DCBS is overworked. Their caseloads are high. And many times when they go out and do an investigation, it's for what winds up being a family in need of services. So you and I might see a neighbor not know what to do. Our first inclination then would be to call DCBS because we don't know what to do. what not only PCAK, but many of our sister chapters across the nation, what we're trying to do is shift the thought process just slightly so that our first inclination is, what can I do? Or is there anything I can do to help this family? Is there something that I can do as a neighbor, as a coach, as a, fill in the blank, that may be more in line with what that family needs, rather than reporting them to DCBS because a child doesn't have shoes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we don't want any child to not have shoes, but that's not going to rise to the level of DCBS accepting that as a child abuse report.
Right.
And so then what we've done is make that report. The child or family goes into the quote unquote system. And once you're in the system, sometimes it's hard to kind of undo that. And so what we refer to it as Lean on Me Kentucky. How can we encourage our neighbors to lean on us? And if we need help, how can we reach out to others to lean on? And it's not just in Kentucky. That's, West Virginia has a Lean on Me West Virginia. It started out in Arizona with Lean on Me Arizona. We've consulted with Missouri, North Dakota. So there's again, and I hope I'm articulating it, okay, but it's just a mindset of recognizing that we as individuals maybe can be more helpful than just picking up the phone and reporting our neighbors. A lot of times with DCBS, they start off with 2 strikes against them. Just think of the words like report and investigate.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're investigating your neighbor. You're reporting your neighbor. So what about helping your neighbor? What about supporting your neighbor? What about, meeting your neighbor halfway? What about, all these other ways that you could be helpful instead of making that report for a service that family is probably not going to get from the state and is going to get from the community anyway.
How long has the Lean on Me initiative been going on?
We launched it in March of 2023.
So it's a year old.
Yeah.
Yeah. We've been, a common theme that's come out of this podcast for every guest that we have is this connection to community. And it feels like there's this push now for people trying to return back to this sense of community.
Yes.
I'd probably argue whether that's actually happening or not, or if that's a real thing. But it when you get to real people and you're talking about helping your neighbor, it seems like when you get to that neighbor level, there's this desire for people to connect back to community. Now, I don't think that's completely carried over into policy.
Yeah. I mean, I would say that we are not there yet.
Right.
But that's where we strive to be.
Sure.
And I think our challenge as a statewide child abuse prevention organization is, first of all, in no way, shape, or form are we saying you should not make a child abuse report. You always want to err on the side of, if you think a child is in danger, then you make that report. It's not up to us to make that determination whether that child is in danger or not. But what we want to do is just make people more aware that there are maybe some other steps you can take. We also recognize that sometimes it's scary to intervene if you do not have the tools to do that.
Yeah.
So I would say PCAK has a ways to go to be able to provide those tools to, to David and to Amanda and to everybody else, because in this day and age, it's scary to intervene to people, in the grocery store that you don't know, that you might see a situation that causes you some concern, but it's like, I'm in a hurry. I need to get home. Plus, I don't know what to say anyway. And if I say something, I don't want to get yelled at. I don't want to put myself at risk. Totally get all that. So we've got a ways to go.
But for clarity, PCAK is not an investigations agency.
No, we are not.
You would be really the group that's spearheading the idea of preventing child abuse.
Yes,
it shouldn't happen.
Yes, we are trying to get folks to understand, here's David's role, here's Amanda's role, here's what Jill can do.
Yeah.
And each of us can do something different. And collectively, if we're each doing something different, then maybe we can make a difference in the life of at least one child.
And so the tools that you're referencing are the classes and the education pieces that PCAK puts out.
Yes.
And so you guys are constantly in motion with those educational pieces.
Yes. We train over 3,000 people a year. Most of our trainings are free, although I will say if any of your listeners have resources available, we certainly accept honorariums, but it's important to us that if somebody wants that training on a particular topic, and we have over 25 topics that we can train on, ranging from recognizing and reporting to what we just talked about, the Lean on Me, fatherhood, the pediatric abusive head trauma.
There you go. Yep.
Internet safety. So a lot of different topics. So we have trained, credentialed trainers on staff that can go out and do those trainings. It could be a lunch and learn. If a company's got 30 minutes and they want to expose their employees to a certain topic, we can do that. If it's an agency that's got half a day, we can do that. We encourage folks to come to the Kids Are Worth It conference, which I know we'll talk about a little bit later. But so that's a 2-day conference where we provide trainings to over 800 people at one time. So
how do you get this word out, right? I mean, I know that's the underlying question that we're answering here, but as I hear what you're saying, that you want the partners, and so let's say a neighbor, right, says, hey, this may be great for my company. I mean, how does that company know to bring your trainers to them for a lunch and learn?
That is the $1 million
yes, it
question.
Is. How have you managed that since 88?
Well, some would say not very well.
Some may say that.
I mean, we can always do better. If I was asked which aspect of our organization needs the most attention or where we could really step it up, it would be in the arena of public awareness, communications, and marketing. I think for nonprofits, and maybe I shouldn't speak for everybody, but I think typically nonprofits don't have a designated communications budget. So we scrimp and save and go on free podcasts to get the word out. And, and when we do have communications dollars, it's certainly nothing like, the millions of dollars that McDonald's has. And I think there's research that shows that somebody has to hear the same message. Is it 7 times?
That sounds right.
21 times?
Sure.
85 times?
Yes.
It's a lot. It's a lot of time.
Now you're talking about me at the office.
Yes.
We don't have that kind of, I mean, we're a nonprofit. We depend on the generosity of folks. So we don't have millions of dollars where we can purchase that ad time in primetime TV to get people to know about us, or to take out a full page ad in the Herald Leader, or to spend lots of money to boost posts on social media. So it's a challenge to be able to identify the mechanisms that are most helpful for us to get the word out.
Do you find that this may be a little bit of a tough question, I suppose, but do you find people are receptive to the message? Like, here's where I'm at. It seems like there's this group of people that are just cannot find enough speakers. They're always looking for content. They're always looking. You're offering free. We will travel to you for free to do this talk, this class, whatever. And it seems like there's this group of people that just can't find enough people to do that content. And here you've got a group with the most noblest of messages willing to come to you. And it's just that connection is not made for some reason.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. I don't know. If I had, that's the $1 million question. So I think part of it is, I think our partner network has grown the last few years. They have been tremendous in helping us get the word out. Things like we're doing right now. Like, This is your contribution. This is helping us get the word out. I know that millions of people
oh my God,
listen to this podcast
by the hour.
Yes, it's growing. But even if one person listens,
let's shoot for that.
That's one more person that probably didn't know about us. Right. So incrementally, we have to make those changes. So it's through partners. It's through before we went on air, we were talking about a particular media company that we work with. So it's being able, when we can, to have marketing and communications things that are professionally produced that can hopefully grab people's attention.
Yeah.
And again, it goes back to every little thing counts. You made fun of the binder that I brought with me, but I knew it was going to come in handy.
Yeah.
So I have a
plethora
of materials here.
Look at that. You sure do.
So we, we try to have them branded with our colors. And so again, when I mentioned earlier, like, you might know us as the pinwheel people. Well, everything has has the pinwheel on it. So, we like to think that every step like that, if you don't know about Prevent Child Abuse Kentucky, but you know about the pinwheels, okay, well, who are those pinwheel people and what do they do?
But it seems like are there other, I don't want to call them partners, although I think there are partners. I looked at that partner list. We need to come back to that in a second. But are there partners that are representing the pinwheels as themselves? Or it just seems like when I've traveled to some of these communities, it's not being branded as Prevent Child Abuse Kentucky.
Oh, I get you.
So there may be a community partner that says,
yes,
here's our pinwheels.
Yes.
And so for me, it's been confusing to say, because I've always associated the pinwheel with Prevent Child Abuse Kentucky.
You are more than just a pretty face.
That's what I keep telling everybody, but I always fall back to the pretty face. Let's talk a minute about sex. Sex is part of life. It's beautiful and it's essential to living a great life. Enter my friends at Shameless Care, who have created something cool for your personal health care. Shameless Care offers a variety of products you may be interested in. ED treatments, STI treatments, STD testing. So how does it work? Well, that's the easy part. You go to shamelesscare.com, you choose the product you're interested in, you complete an online questionnaire, which is reviewed by a medical doctor, by the way. Pay for the product, and in a couple of days, discreet packaging arrives right to your doorstep. Their customer service is second to none. They're always responsive, and they care. Listen, Ashley's the best. Tell her I said hello. They're a small business ran by people like you and me, and they're incredible. And the best part? We can save you some money. Click on the link in the show notes. Use the code JUDE at checkout. It's JUDE. And save $30 on your first purchase. That's not bad, huh? Visit our website to learn more. Shamelesscare.com. And don't forget the promo code JUDE.
That is true. So yes, I can sit here and say we are the pinwheel people, but in every community across the state, there may be an agency, hopefully, that is displaying the pinwheel. Mm-hmm. We want that local partner to be lifted up within their local community as the as the expert in that community. Because even if we had a budget of $50 million, we would not be able to be in every community. So it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. It really has to be local communities.
So then that's strategery from PCAK to say, yeah, if you really wanted to know, we're the pinwheel people, but we're not in your local community to provide the services. So let the local service provider, for lack of a better term,
absolutely
take the lead in the local community.
Yes.
Which is why they're branding it on the courthouse steps or wherever we see it.
Yes. But, for the most part, they get their pinwheels from us, and they get a lot of the materials that they distribute from us.
Gotcha.
We also, if a local service provider wants to take something that we've produced and wants to add, like as a tagline, like their local information, we want to be able to work with them to do that. Because again, if you look at the overall mission, it's going to be more effective for that local community, that local service provider to provide the service and to be known in that community, probably than it is for PCAK.
That's fascinating to me, right? As we've been talking about kind of the business end of both what we do, that PCAK has really kind of taken a, I don't say backseat, that's not the right way to say it, but you've taken an approach of saying, we don't really care if our brand is the one that's displayed in certain ways, because the overall mission is more important than the branding. I'm paraphrasing quite a bit there, but
and it gets yes.
Okay, great.
I mean, but that's hard, David, because
yes, it's hard. That's
we want our services to be known, and again, we don't have a $50 million budget, so we want folks to recognize that if they have $5 that they would like to share with us, we would greatly appreciate receiving that. But we also recognize that we could not do our work without our partners. Plain and simple. Without those 300 partners or 320, there would be no Prevent Child Abuse Kentucky. So how do you have to weigh how can we be good partners? How can we lift up our community partners? And conversely, how can some of our community partners work with us so it's more of a win-win situation? Some of our partners have more appeal, larger budgets than we do. So how, in that situation, so what does that look like in terms of how can that partner help PCAK spread a statewide message?
Mm-hmm.
And how can that partner still hold true to their local roots per se?
Yeah.
So it's, and I would say that that's not unique for our sister chapters across the country. You know, we all have those local roots, but as far as I know, like all of them have like a headquarters somewhere. So things are originating out of the headquarters into local communities, but things are happening in local communities that are also going back to the headquarters. And that has to be a two-way street in order for it to work.
So I'm not saying right or wrong or good or bad. I just think it's fascinating that the strategy is that, right? Because the logic would say, I want my brand front and center to establish myself as the authority or the expert in it. Yet somehow PCAK has done that by taking the opposite, not the opposite, but a different strategy to say, we're going to empower the local people to be front and center, and we will be the strength. The quiet part. I don't know how to say what I'm saying.
And I also think it would be, quite frankly, a little egotistical of PCAK to think, I mean, some of our local partners have been around longer than we have.
Yeah.
So quite bluntly, you know, who are we to tell, you know, XYZ organization how to do something when we're not there every day? We haven't been around as long as they have. We don't know the community people like they do. We're not, you know, ingrained in the community. So if you look at it from that perspective, I go back to how it's a, what's that saying? Like a mutual symbiotic relationship, you know? So I would like to think that each of our partners are benefited from their partnership with us.
Yeah.
And I know that we benefit from our partnership with them.
I see it as a real position of strength for PCAK. I mean, there's a lot of confidence to be able to say, we're going to take a different strategy, right? Because I think the logic says we want to be front and center, regardless of who's been around longer, right? Everybody's trying to position themselves as the expert, but you've taken a really confident, strong position to say, we're going to be okay. We don't have to be that person. We're not, who are we to tell XYZ company how to do it? But we can be a really strong presence behind them to support them. It's a little different, I think.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think that there are areas where maybe we're not all of the partners are strong. You know, some partners are strong in this area. Mm-hmm. Some other partners are strong in this area. So we have some partners that are really strong with legislative and advocacy kinds of things. We have some partners that are very strong with that direct service provider. So how can we like extrapolate the best out of everybody to lift up statewide child abuse prevention efforts? Yeah. And I really look at the Kids Are Worth It conference as like the, we have a board member that calls that our Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Because it's like all of the things come together, both for Child Abuse Prevention Month and for our Kids Are Worth It conference. So, and I totally lost my train of thought because I'm getting old. I'm so sorry. I was going somewhere with that.
I'm sure you're going a great place with it.
I think I was talking about having everybody come together at the conference, and that it's a great example. So we've got exhibitors that are there. So it's a great opportunity for partners to get the word out about them. There's sponsorship opportunities. So if a company wants to get their name or logo out for the audience that will be there, that's a great opportunity for them. We have nationally and state known experts. So, folks come to the conference to hear trends and programs and, nationally known speakers talk about things that maybe we need to do a better job of.
Mm-hmm.
Which goes back to Captain David, I might add.
Yeah.
Because Captain David first surfaced at the Kids Are Worth It conference.
Like a beautiful rose.
That's right. In Lexington. when it
was a smaller conference.
Yes. And there was a particular gentleman that was helping us at the conference, and he kept referring to you as Captain David.
Captain David.
Captain David, can I get you something? Captain David, what do you need?
Yeah. Well, that's true.
So henceforth,
Captain David.
Captain David.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess I presented at Kids Are Worth It a while back. That's been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you were president when you got what's that called? The moniker of Captain David.
Yeah.
Because you were sitting at the head table.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking I presented well before I joined.
Oh, you did.
Oh,
but
the moniker.
But the Captain David.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Yeah.
So I could use that on a boat.
I know.
I'm getting ready to go to Maine. I could rattle that off when we go see something on a boat, maybe.
Are you really getting ready to go to Maine?
Uh-huh.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be our second trip up there. Yeah.
You're going to have a vacation home up there?
It's too cold. So I would go south, but
okay,
we can go in the summers and vacation there. Get some fresh blueberries. Yeah.
So is Maine like the blueberry capital of the world?
I can't say that, but I can tell you the last time we went we're going to go in June, is the same time frame, and blueberries were the thing.
Uh-huh.
Everything blueberries. So, and lobster.
Lobster, of course.
Yeah, lobster, I think, is with an AH.
So what's the capital of Maine?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Is it Augusta?
No.
You don't say that very convincingly.
No, I don't have any idea.
Maine.
Maybe it is Augusta.
I think it's Augusta.
Is it Augusta? Yeah. I don't remember. We went. Last time we went, we just rented a car, and every day we went in a different direction. And
oh, that's cool.
it was kind of fun. Yeah. This time, I think we're just hopefully going to see the whales. And
oh,
yeah.
That's fun.
Yeah. We tried that last time.
To see the whales?
Yeah. And so we went to Booth Bay Harbor, which is where we're going to go back to. And we thought, hey, let's go out on Captain Dougie's whale watching boat or whatever it was. And it was warm at the shore. And I thought, okay, I don't think I need a jacket. And finally, we got to the right person. And I was in T-shirt and shorts, I think, something like that. And it was comfortable. And finally, we were just wasting time. And somebody's like, you might want to get a jacket. So I found this cheap jacket. And I thought, okay, that's close enough. Well, thank God I did. Because the minute you left the harbor, you realize you're in the northern Atlantic and still in a springtime temperature. And the visibility off the boat went from like this beautiful Maine scenery that everybody can probably visualize to literally like 3 feet off the side of the boat. So there were no whales. And so we spent like a 4-hour circle with this boat hammered down into the fog that you can't see out of. And you thought, at some point in life, you're like, Stacey's like, what are we going to do? I was like, well, we can't prevent anything. So I guess if we hit something, we hit it. And I guess eventually we'll get back to wherever we're going. So we just drank
and clearly you did.
And we made it back.
Okay.
Didn't see anything other than a wall of white fog, but.
So you're going in June.
Yeah.
For how long?
4 nights. Yeah. And we'll go see the whales again, the whale puppies.
You could stay longer. 4 nights.
4 is about enough for us.
Oh.
5 is like
okay.
max for us. And at 5, we're like, hey, it's,
Because it's too much together time? Or
oh, no, it's just, we do good at that. We do very well at that. It's just time to get home.
Okay.
There's so much other stuff going on always that
Okay.
that's starting to be a long time for us. Yeah. Anyway.
Well, thank you for sharing.
Yeah. Anyway, back to the
Okay.
kids are worth it.
I feel like that was our commercial break.
That was kind of a nice commercial break. Yeah. I don't know how we got there either, but we're there. So back to kids are worth it.
Kids are worth it.
Back in this time where I was presenting, or I first reared myself, it was a relatively small conference, right? It was at the Campbell House, I think. Is that right?
No. Was it?
Was it?
No, I don't think so. I don't think we've ever been at the Campbell House.
Well, I'm quite certain I've got my conferences mixed up, but if I were to bet, I would go all in that it was there. But it wasn't?
No.
Okay. Okay, great. Yeah.
But I will say, like, I can't even remember what topic you presented on. I feel like I've been a bad friend. Like what?
Well, it would be
we have you? Oh, it was on
the home visitation safety.
Home visitation safety. That's right. Yeah, that was
But now you've grown into, you've got to have a pretty big venue.
Yes. So this will be the 28th year of the conference. And last year we were in Louisville. We had 710 people, something, I don't know, something like that. We are expecting over 800 people this year. We will be downtown in Lexington at the Lexington Bank Center, Central Bank Center. Sorry, September 9th and 10th. So I will put the plug in. Go to our website, pcaky.org. Hopefully the see? Woo. Man, we are on top of it. Register for the early bird rate here.
Yeah.
Yep. So,
are you going back and forth, Lexington to Louisville? Wasn't that one of our topics?
No. So we had been in Louisville for, I don't know. A number of years.
Yeah.
Had signed a contract that was pre-COVID. And then obviously the world is turned upside down. And then for 2 years, we held the conference virtually. So we weren't any place. Then the Crown Plaza and the Galt House they were gracious enough to let us out of our contract because of COVID, with the understanding that we come back to them for 2022 and 2023. So we fulfilled that obligation, opened it up to bids, and we will be in Lexington at least for the next 2 years. So we don't necessarily rotate, but we try to sign a contract for a certain number of years that gives us the best deal.
Right.
And then when that contract ends, we are open to opportunities.
Yeah. So cities or hotels are now bidding to get the Kids Are Worth It conference.
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't think I knew that, or at least I don't remember that.
Yeah, you think about 800 people. Granted, it's not like the, 156,000 that was at the Derby over the weekend, which, by the way, that was exciting.
Yeah.
But 800 people and obviously if you're from Lexington or Winchester or, this area, you're not going to need a lodging room, but it's a fair number of our folks who will need lodging. And so we're also working with the city in terms of, deals that we might be able to broker with downtown restaurants. What we have found is that when people come to our conference, they like the opportunity to go out and about. We've tried several times to have like a networking event, and we're not opposed to that at all, but we haven't quite found like that magic potion that works between providing that networking opportunity, but yet recognizing that people are in Lexington or in Louisville and they want to go out and they want to be with their friends. So, but be that as it may, it's 2 full days of training and networking and education. So
Yeah.
So we're looking for exhibitors. So people who might have like a vendor table that we would sell, sponsors that want to get their name in front of 800 people, and the participants are mental health providers, school folks, medical providers, law enforcement, social workers. So again, anybody who has any kind of influence or any reason to interact with any of those folks, it's a good opportunity to get in front of them.
It's a hopping place. Kids Are Worth It's always a pretty hopping place. There's a lot going on.
There is a lot going on
between the sessions and the people, and I don't know how you would put together a networking at this point. It feels like it would be too big to really connect too many people that way. I don't know.
But, you go to national conferences, I mean, like big, like thousands of people, and they do it. Right? They have like, I mean, not that we have a river, but like there's riverboat cruises. Like there's like participants are offered the opportunity to pay extra to do certain things within the city in which they're visiting. So I don't know what that looks like for us. So, but anyway, Kids Are Worth It, September 9th and 10th in Lexington. We would love to have anybody who's listening.
Yeah. Yeah. Good thing to be there.
Yeah.
So let's get it going.
Yeah.
All right. So in addition to the conference,
yes,
you do, we've covered kind of being the resource, the place, the one-stop shop. We've talked a little bit about trainings. We've talked a little bit about the conference. Let's talk a little bit about the organization's influence and like creating policy and how you're involved in that.
Yes.
Okay. Next topic.
So that is,
I've always thought that that's one of the most important things that PCAK does. And, it's done in a very, it's a great process, right? There's no one from the organization jumping up and down the steps of the Capitol saying, whatever.
We'd hurt ourselves.
What I've always appreciated is kind of the quiet influence that the organization happens. And we're getting ready to get into board members and
yes,
how you have managed to, because the organization is 37 years old or something like that. So, and I love the study of success. What makes a person, organization, something successful, right? And so there's a lot to celebrate with PCAK for that. And we've talked about your strength being that quiet partner. You don't have to have the branding on every person's in every community, right? So I think there's a lot of beauty in that strength, and part of that is the legislation and stuff that the organization gets behind.
Yes. So there's so much I can say. I don't even know where to start. So first of all, I want to give a shout out to our lobbyist, Kevin Payton and Danny Slayton with Top Shelf Lobby. Some of the listeners may think, what? They've got a paid lobbyist? I will say it's very difficult in this day and age to be in Frankfurt every day while still needing to run an organization and trying to keep your pulse on the committee meetings and who you need to meet with and when you need to meet with them. And I'm not saying that our elected officials are not approachable. I'm just saying that for Jill Seyfred personally, I have found that to be challenging, to run an organization and, do the fundraising and the board development and the things that go into running an organization. But yet for certain time periods when our elected officials are there, to have to be there every day has been a challenge for me. So,
well, anyone that would question that, I think, is coming from a place where they don't really understand, this is my opinion, of how legislation gets passed and the inner workings of all those things. And so it's just not as easy. Jill's just not, even though you've been in that position for a long time, you're just not going to run to Frankfurt and have the ear of all the people that you need to have the ear of. It's
hard. And I don't necessarily think that that's one of my huge strengths. I think I'm okay at it, but I'm okay at it because I've had really good teachers, and hopefully I listen and I do what they tell me to do. Like when they say we need to reach out to so-and-so, if I don't know so-and-so, then I'll reach out to our board members and I'll say, hey, we need to reach out to David Jude. Does anybody know David Jude? And hopefully with our sphere of influence,
right,
either on the board or through our partners, we will be able to identify somebody that knows David Jude so that then we can craft a message for David Jude, elected official, so that then we can say, hey, David Jude, support House Bill 207. And it's important because these 5 people in your community have contacted you. So, that's another way that partners can help us. And, hopefully then we can also help them be connected to their elected officials. So to me, it's challenging. And I really appreciate the folks at Top Shelf Lobby being able to kind of guide me and direct me and hold my hand through that process. In addition to that, I would also say, so we've talked about Child Abuse Prevention Month. We've been fortunate that every year since Brereton Jones was governor. Now, look that up, Amanda. What year was that? We have been fortunate to have the governor's support of Child Abuse Prevention Month. Now, it has changed, kind of ebbed and flowed throughout the years, but regardless of whether we've had a Republican governor or a Democratic governor, we have had the support of the governor for Child Abuse Prevention Month. Now, we have, for some of our governors, we've been able to parlay that into more than just Child Abuse Prevention Month, which obviously is our goal. So what year?
87.
For lieutenant governor, yep, 91 for governor.
Yeah. So, the current governor is a former board member of ours, and his father is a former board member of ours. So we feel very fortunate that we've been able to make some of those connections. Congressman Andy Barr is one of our former board presidents. So
I forgot about that.
We're also very thankful of his support. We've had a couple of federal judges who have been on our board before they became federal judges. We've had a couple of state judges on our board. So, all of that is very important as you're trying to navigate those political waters, and especially as I've been learning and still learning the ropes of Frankfurt.
But that's also part of your mission too, right? Is to have the legislation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've been very, I'd say this session that just ended in April was very successful for us. I'd like to talk a little bit about something that you might know a little bit about. House Bill 207 was a piece of legislation that we worked on with the Kentucky State Police and the Attorney General's office. And it's a very sensitive topic that some of your listeners may, may want to turn the volume down because it's not fun to talk about. It's not good to talk about it, but it's something that happens. And we always say if you can't talk about it, then you're not going to be able to prevent it. You're not going to be able to let people know about it. So House Bill 207 changed the definition of child sexual abuse matter to allow for things like child sex dolls to be confiscated and used in search warrants. And previously, there was also the wording was such that like the child sexual abuse matter, there was a definition or wording around whether something was clothed or not clothed.
Mm-hmm.
And if a child sex doll had lingerie, it was considered clothed. And we are not talking, when I talk about child sex dolls, I'm not talking about something that you might hear about on Seinfeld, where Kramer went to, the party store and got a blow-up doll.
Right.
We are talking about anatomically correct dolls of infants and children. And they come into this country. A lot of them are, all of them are very disturbing.
Yeah.
So prior to House Bill 207, our law enforcement and prosecutors had no leg to stand on in terms of charging an individual for possession of those child sex dolls.
Meaning that sex doll is a grooming device?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Is that where we're saying for that?
Yes.
And so, that's a great topic to say, or a great, I guess, point to make is that, man, this is probably going to come out wrong. A lot of society probably doesn't know what is happening right underneath their own noses in their own communities. And good, bad, right, wrong, whatever. There's a lot happening in every community across the state. And so I'm not real familiar with the sex dolls, the child sex dolls coming in, but that's to the point. It's risen to such a level of concern that Prevent Child Abuse Kentucky is aware of it. And prior to House Bill 207, what I'm understanding is there is no law to say what to do with those child sex dolls.
You could be in possession of a child sex doll and it would be fine prior to 207. So if you are served a search warrant and then you are in possession of a child sex doll, now that is no longer okay because of House Bill 207.
Yeah. And so I think a lot of our listeners and a lot of society would be sitting here thinking, who the hell would have a freaking sex doll as a child, right?
Yes.
And the answer would be you'd be really surprised what's out there.
Yes. And that's why I said, it's a very sensitive topic. And I understand that some of your listeners right now may have turned the volume down and
they've heard some wacky crap on this show. So no, they're invested in it at this point.
So,
but they need to hear it, right? Because
yes.
if we're not talking about it, yes. I don't recognize House Bill 207, and really I'm not familiar with the child sex dolls. But
yes.
If we can't have an adult conversation about the stupid shit that's out there,
yes, then
that's a problem.
Yes. So the reason why Prevent Child Abuse Kentucky was interested is not because of that sometimes there's a fine line between, the prosecution and law enforcement and prevention. So how we became interested and why we became interested is that these dolls are used as a grooming device. And, I don't have the statistics right at my fingertips, but more often than not, individuals who are in possession of these sex dolls will then go on to sexually abuse children.
Did you get any pushback on this law?
No. It passed both chambers it passed both the House and the Senate and each one of the committees that it was heard in without a nay vote.
Wow.
And I give
that's significant, because I was getting ready to say, I would imagine, I was wondering if there was pushback to define the purpose of having the doll.
So I attribute that to, probably a whole lot of things that I don't even know, but one is the sponsor of the bill, Representative Stephanie Dietz, who's from Northern Kentucky, phenomenal sponsor, really shepherded the bill. She's a prosecutor, really understood the parameters and, what she was dealing with. So that's one thing. The partners, KSP and the Attorney General's office, could not ask for better partners, and they have real life situations. So Jill Seyfred has never gone out and issued, or I guess it's called served a search warrant. I've never issued a search warrant.
It depends on, somebody issues it, so it depends on your role, Your Honor.
But KSP has, and so they can talk about, this is what we found. This is what we see. This is what, and so that's very impactful when you have the people who are dealing with this. I don't want to say every day, but close to every day.
Right.
So yeah. And oh gosh, I hate to bring this up because now I'm going to put myself on the spot, but there's also a federal law that is in the works, hasn't passed yet. But when I was in DC in March, I had the opportunity to talk to some of our elected officials in March, and I brought up House Bill 207 and this thing is going on in Kentucky. And so fast forward, 6 weeks? Now there's also a federal bill that I don't in any way, shape, or form want to say that it mirrors Kentucky's. I think the federal legislation was actually in the works, before Kentucky's. But that just goes to show it's not just a Kentucky thing.
Right.
It's national. So and from a prevention standpoint, it's all about making sure that law enforcement has the tools and that communities have the tools to stop that grooming process.
Do you find that, I'm back to society, I guess, but that it feels like in these topics that a lot of communities just want to bury their head and say that, this isn't a big deal, or yeah, it's a big deal, but not here type of thing. Do you run into that from time to time? Would you agree with that assessment?
Partially.
Yeah.
I think especially like this topic, nobody wants to talk about child sex dolls.
Right.
I mean, nobody wants to talk about it.
And I was thinking of another common connection we have that deals with online pornography of children.
Yes.
And the volume that is being sent through Kentucky's airwaves at any given moment.
Yes.
Would be alarming to the public. But it seems like that's a difficult topic to get conversations about. It's not fun. Nobody wants to talk about it, but it would just be alarming if society knew the volume of that was happening.
Yes. And the number of tips that come into the KSP line or the Attorney General's office. hundreds every month.
Yeah.
Every month.
Yeah, you could probably have your own dedicated agency to investigating those things and still not keep up with it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And again, from a prevention standpoint, why we're interested is obviously anytime there's the potential for a child to be harmed, that's something that we want to intervene in. We want to make sure that everybody has tools to stop that.
Yeah.
So whether it's whether it's talking about House Bill 207, we've got in my handy dandy folder here.
In your binder?
That is alphabetized, I might add. Not that I did it. But we've got like Preventing Child Sexual Abuse, a guide for parents, caregivers, professionals, and community members. So, we've got a lot of information on child sexual abuse and how to talk about it. One of the things, Jana,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
one of my valued and trusted colleagues and coworkers.
Yeah, she's awesome.
She has, she's been waving this banner for a long time about child sexual abuse prevention. And one of the things that she trains on is that we have got to use the correct body parts when we are talking to kids, because then if something happens, and if a child says, well, something happened to my cookie, we all three of us might have a very different definition. So if a child says this happened to my vagina, then there is absolutely no debate.
Right.
Well, that's uncomfortable. I mean, it's uncomfortable for me to use that terminology. It's uncomfortable for parents to use that terminology with their kids. But the more we normalize it, the more, the better off the kids are going to be and the safer that they'll be.
How did you get involved, like with House Bill 207? Is that something that Prevent Child Abuse Kentucky became aware of and spearheaded the legislation, or is it something that maybe somebody came back in and then would come to you as a potential partner for?
It was brought to our attention by law enforcement, and we were in a position of authorizing our lobbyists to. So let me back up. So we have a public policy agenda that's approved by our board every year. And we look at trends, and partners come to us and what do you think about this? And we need to take a stance on this. And we're members of all different kinds of coalitions and, partner groups. And so some of the legislation we might take a lead on. Others we might just be supportive of, or conversely, opposed to. And others we may be, we may not be the agency that's out front, but we may put it in our legislative newsletter. We may push some things out. So we were approached by a law enforcement partner on 207, and we took the lead with our lobbyist to push that forward.
Yeah. More back to the value of having a lobbyist.
Yes.
So you're not just paying for the lobbyist, you're paying for that person's ability and knowledge to work through the system to get
yes
what needs to happen.
Yep. And again, but even with that, again, I did not testify. So, when there's legislation, you're often called to the table to testify. I didn't testify. I'm not the subject matter expert on this, but we authorized our lobbyists to get those meetings and to, have all those conversations and, go back and forth on the bill revisions and all of that stuff. So,
Yeah, that's good.
Absolutely.
You bring up an excellent point, which is one of the segues that I wanted to have with you. So as we start to talk about choosing and selecting board members and how have you successfully navigated doing that for so many years, one of the things that I've always admired is
David.
Prevent Child Abuse Kentucky's ability to keep politics out of the organization. Yet it's deeply rooted in politics, the political system, I should say, not politics. But I think that's fascinating. So let me stop there and say, how have you been able to do that? Yeah. Do I need to tell another vacation story to stall for time?
No. I wanted to give a thoughtful answer.
Yeah.
I think a lot of it goes back to the board members themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to have people around the board table that first and foremost put our mission at the forefront of why they are around the board table. And to me, it's as simple as that. When you go away from the board table, you're going to have different competing professional interests. You may be a prosecuting attorney. You may be a defense attorney.
Mm-hmm.
You might be I don't know. I'm trying to think of polar opposites. But when you're around our board table, you took we don't ask people to take an oath or anything, but we take it very seriously. And through the onboarding process, and we've got a few documents that we ask board members to sign on the front end that have even been new since you were on the board, David, that we really spell out this is what we expect you to do. And it can range from, we've got board meetings that are 4 times a year. We expect you to make every effort to come to those board meetings. We've got our Kids Are Worth It conference. We've got our pinwheel planting. We understand that things happen, but we really want you to be there. So we spell out expectations. I've learned a lot. I used to not be as direct when onboarding board members. And now I am because it doesn't do anybody any good to beat around the bush and to sugarcoat what those expectations are, because then eventually there's going to be frustration.
Mm-hmm.
There's the new board member is going to be frustrated because it's oh gosh, I didn't know I was getting into this. And
I've got to serve on all those committees.
That's right. All 85
all 85 committees.
And the organization is going to be frustrated because the organization, the other board members will be well, didn't David know that there were 85 committees?
He does now.
What up with that? So we're very upfront. Here's the expectations.
Well, and I appreciate that. And you're giving me the good answer. But I think also too, there's ego still there, right? You've had some, you've already named off a few high profile, let's call them, board members. And so there's a credit that has to go to you somehow. And I would like to hear more about that. And maybe I need to call your staff over and not you, but it's a true compliment to you.
Thank you.
That you've been able to get what I think all of us could perceive as an ego-driven personality to sit on a board and achieve common goals. And we can stick with the prosecutor defense attorney, because that's easy for everybody to see the antagonistic relationship between those two. But when it comes to PCAK, those things get set aside. And in that example, that's 2 people competing against this very charge. Let's just stick with House Bill 207. There's going to be somebody prosecute it, and there's going to be a defense attorney defend against it. But when they're on the board, somehow you're able to guide and direct and shelf the egos for the betterment of the mission, even if the organization doesn't have to be the lead on it. And I'm really curious your secret sauce or your strategy? Right? How have you made that happen?
Nobody's ever asked me that question.
That's why you're coming here for the hard-hitting questions.
It's her beautiful face.
Yes, that's what it is.
Circles back around.
That's not it.
I know the
I'm
humble's still
struggling.
trying to come out, and the humility. I got it. I'd be the same. So I don't know. I'll give you a second. To
I
think
mean,
about it.
it's not my trying to be humble. I mean, it really is. So we've got a nominating and board development committee. Like we try very hard to be very deliberate about who is joining our board.
Well, that's the next question I've got is how do you select those? But I'm going to pause before we get there to say at least a current and former sitting governor,
Yes.
a U.S. representative,
Yes.
2 federal judges,
Yes.
multiple state level judges,
Yes.
not to mention just the other people that I'm familiar with that have been on your board. They don't get in those positions without a certain level of, I don't want to call it ego because that puts a negative connotation on it, but an ego. You have to have it to get to some of those positions. There's no way you don't run for governor successfully multiple times without having a certain level of whatever it is, right? But that doesn't seem to translate into your board meetings. And so there is some secret sauce that's happening there in order to get that to happen.
But don't you think it's contagious?
I'd like to think that it is.
You know, if
I don't know that it is.
if we had 15 people on the board and they were all there for their own interests, then the rest of the board is probably going to be there for their own interests. I mean, leadership is important.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so who you have as leaders, Captain David,
Mm-hmm.
is important, and how you structure board meetings and how you bring people onto the board and the voice that you give them and how you explain to them that, you know, on the front end that around the board table that this is your voice. Like you're one vote. No matter who you are, Captain David. Like you were a head honcho. You were the board president, and I would say that you were very humble in that position also.
Yes, and Aha. And I would come back and say my humility and humbleness is it's a great strength, but it's also a weakness at time. And I would say I present that in my everyday normal life, and even more so the older I get. I would also say, because you said, isn't it contagious? I would also tell you that I think maybe unfortunately in a lot of my experiences, if you have a place where a very ego-driven person comes into a place where everybody else has shelved their ego, sometimes that pours gas on the fire to where that ego guy can then, or person can come in and try to expand their influence, but it doesn't seem to ever happen. There's probably a case or two where it has happened, sure, but it seems to be the oddity and not the normal place. And I don't know, maybe I'm overstretching a little bit here because I don't want to portray your board members as being those type of people, because they're not. They're wonderful people that have chosen to be part of this. And maybe that's the difference, but you also gave your own answer too. There's a leadership part that's coming out of that. And that's where I love to study is that successful leadership part, to say, how are you getting this team there, right? How are you getting these people there? I don't know. I'm giving you the credit.
I don't know. You need to. So before we went on air, I gave you the suggestion of other folks to bring on to future podcasts.
Yeah.
A couple of them may be in a better position, Because maybe I'm too close to it. Like, I've been doing this. I mean, this is what I do since 1988. This is what I've done. So in order for me to like separate, like, this is what Jill does, like, I don't know. I honestly don't know how to answer that question.
Okay.
But I think some of our other board members, because they have a different perspective, like they're the ones around the table. They're the ones that have been recruited. They're the ones that have had the onboarding. They're the ones that have had the conversations with other people around the board table. They're the ones that maybe have had to have difficult conversations with people around the board table.
I'm not done digging. I'm thinking there's still more there to dig out of Miss Jill.
So,
yeah.
I'm a firm believer that, so anybody who's listening who has been involved in nonprofits, I think that the board president manages the board, and the CEO, or my title is executive director, manages the staff. So it's not I will follow the board's guidance. I will do what the board asks or tells me to do, as long as it's not illegal, immoral, or unethical. But it is the board's responsibility to manage the board. That is my answer.
You did very well with that.
Thank you.
We're going to keep digging.
I mean, I don't know what else to say.
You're saying it.
Okay.
Yeah, you're saying it. So how do you get into selecting a board member? Because not everybody is going to be a board member at PCAK.
Well, so we've got a nominating and board development committee.
Mm-hmm.
We have had, so not every organization has a committee that's responsible for bringing board members on. I had a mentor a long time ago who told me that the nominating committee was the most important committee of the board, because it's that committee of all the 85 committees.
Right. Gosh.
That chooses board members, that ensures the viability of the organization, makes sure that all different demographics are represented, and ensures the fiscal responsibility of the board. So that's always stuck with me. So we've always had a nominating and board development committee, and those positions are elected. So at least in our organization, it elevates the individuals that are on that committee because they are elected by the entire board. And again, this mentor told me that she preferred to do it that way, because that way the entire board was choosing the individuals that were going to choose at least the nominees that would make it to the board level. So we have a nominating board development committee. It's my responsibility. Any board application that we receive, I'm, mandated to make sure that all of those applications are shared with our nominating committee. They meet periodically throughout the course of the year. They review all the applications. They review them, so at the end of each of our fiscal years, at the beginning of each one of our fiscal years, which is in June, they'll look at gaps that we might have. So do we need somebody from Eastern Kentucky or Western Kentucky? Do we need somebody from law enforcement? Do we need somebody that wears purple socks? Whatever the case may be. And then we set about filling those vacancies as defined by the nominating committee. So we'd like to have a nominating pool. So at any given time, sometimes our pool is a little low, but we try to have a pool so that as we have vacancies, because inevitably people move, people's personal, professional obligations change, and they are required or feel that they need to resign from the board. So we'd like to have a pool of individuals to draw from. The nominating committee looks at these individuals and then compares them to the identified gaps, shares, approves a particular nomination, and then that person's name goes to the full board. So the entire board votes on potential board members. And that's how we add them. And so how we identify them. So, from conversations like this, like, oh, hey, do you know somebody that wears purple socks that might be interested in serving on the board? Current and former board members are great sources of potential new board members. When we do trainings, when we go out into the community, our partners, sponsors, anything that we're doing, we're always looking for those great board members.
Yeah.
I will say that we've had particular success with not necessarily having like the CEO of a company, but perhaps somebody that is on his or her way up, and that commitment to our organization then is ingrained when they are starting their career, or perhaps not at the peak of their career, but then when they are at the peak of their career, their commitment to us has already been demonstrated.
Yeah, been cemented.
Yeah.
There's the strategery I was looking for. See, you've got some wisdom in there somewhere.
Well, I mean, that's not always the case. I don't always have wisdom. And I say that because if there's any CEO that's listening that wants to be considered for board membership, that would be great. But I'm just saying, we also recognize that typically the CEO of an organization is going to be very hard pressed for time. So if we can identify somebody that has the ear of the CEO, or if we can go to the CEO and the CEO says, I really think that David Jude would be a great board member. So then David Jude kind of has the blessing of the CEO. That, at least for us, that's been a good strategy.
Yeah. It's obviously been effective for you. Yeah.
We've had some great board members.
Yeah. Yeah. I know one 6-year stretch you sure did. Thank you very much. I'm not saying what 6 years it is. But, oh, look at that. Look at that. Some type of commercial or something we did.
And that's on
the YouTubes even.
We've had some board member. I mean, our bylaws only say that you have to sit out 1 year before you can be considered again.
Here's what I like of my video. In 6 years, it's got 6 likes. That's some stats right there. That's 1 a year on average, right?
That's about right.
Yeah.
For you.
That's pretty good. Yeah.
But look at the pinwheel.
Right there it is, front and center.
There you go.
Yeah. Looking good. How about that?
See, and you were no longer Captain David then. You were a retired major.
Yeah, how about that? I guess I came back then, obviously, didn't I? Yeah, obviously I did. Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
How about that?
Awesome.
We need to do something with that.
With what? The
video or something.
Okay. Yeah. Well. Mm-hmm.
There it is.
Yeah.
See if we can jump up those thumbs.
Can we go back to talk about something else with legislation?
Yes, please.
So we also were very fortunate that we received a legislative appropriation this session.
Very nice.
And I would like to put a plug in for anybody who may be listening. Part of what we received the funding for is something called an Upstream Academy. Some of your listeners may be familiar with the whole upstream, like it's a kind of a buzzword lately. Like for us in the child abuse prevention arena, when we talk about going upstream, we're trying to catch families and children as far away from the actual abuse, as far upstream as we can. So identifying before anything has happened, before there is any sense of danger or anything like that. So how do you do that?
Mm-hmm.
You train about internet safety. You train about child sexual abuse prevention. You train about the importance of having a fatherhood role model in a child's life. So all these different things. So part of what we received funding for was an upstream academy. So like hot off the press, we don't have the application form or anything, but before too long, what this upstream academy will do is allow us to have at least one person from every county. So every county, Paducah, Pikeville, Kenton, Pulaski, every county, to be trained on a number of different topics. We will pay them. We will pay for their lodging. We will pay for their mileage. We will get them materials. So if they are interested in being considered for that, like we hope that we are bombarded with people who want to go through this training. We are taking it very seriously. We will have background checks that we will have to perform on everybody. There will be an application process. For some of the counties, we expect that there will be more than one person, but in some of our rural counties, we're also realistic. It may only be one person. So to our elected officials, what we said is there will be at least one person from each of our 120 counties that will be a upstream academy, like credentialed trainer at no cost to them, absolutely no cost. And in fact, not only will they not have a cost, they will be paid to do this. So if they're interested, send us an email, pcaky@pcaky.org. Like subject matter or subject line upstream academy, just let us know that you're interested. And then when we get the application or the registration form, we will make sure that you're on the list to receive that.
That's a huge project.
It's huge.
My question was going to be, what's next for, what do you have, next? Well, that's it. That's a big one.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. We are like beyond thrilled. So we appreciate Speaker Osborne for going to bat for us, and Senator Julie Rocky Adams, who's from Louisville. I could name all of them, but very, very supportive of our efforts, and we're thrilled. So that funding probably won't be in place until the end of August or so. So like it's not going to be the next even couple months, but,
no, it'll take a little bit to get that ramped up. That's
absolutely.
That's not like choosing where we're going for lunch. That's a big project.
Although for us, that, that could be a big project.
Could take us to August. Yeah. Well, what else do you have going on? What else do we need to talk about for PCAK? So we're going to have all your links right in the show notes. We'll have all the connections to you.
I would like to give a plug. We're always looking for qualified people who want to join our talented team.
Yeah.
As staff members. We will be hiring someone to manage that upstream academy.
Oh, wow.
So again, that won't be, next week, but, it's on the horizon. So, we have a vacancy right now for a programs and trainings person. I would say it's been a little difficult to fill that position because of we've tried to be very transparent with applicants, and what we ask that person to do is train on some of the topics that we've talked about.
Yeah.
So if you're not comfortable doing that, then some people have kind of taken themselves out of the running, but we are searching, and we hope that the next great employee is out there.
Yeah. That's the dream, right? You got to believe.
Yeah.
You got to believe.
Yeah. It's hard.
Yeah, it is.
It's hard to find the right match. It's, subject matter.
Yeah. We talk about that all the time.
Everything has changed since COVID in terms of remote, non-remote, hybrid, non-hybrid. I would say that PCAK is doing better in terms of not mandating that folks be in the office all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's somebody out there who may not be from the Lexington area and anything that I've said remotely interests you, we are interested in hearing from you.
And so that's going to be on your website. You're going to find those things.
Yes.
You also have a very active social media.
Yes.
Post platforms, content, whatever else.
Yes.
You've always put your job postings
Yes.
across your social media platforms.
Yes.
So yeah, there's ways to find. I would imagine you also listed on the job listing, the job sites.
Yeah, and everything will be posted through the Kentucky Nonprofit Network,
mm-hmm.
which I don't know their website off the top.
We'll get it. It'll be in the show notes.
Okay.
Or we'll find it somehow.
Okay. Show notes. That's a very technical.
Yeah, it's, when you're in the industry, you use stuff like that. You say things like that. It's in all the words that I type too many of at the bottom of our picture.
Show notes.
The show notes. Yeah. I'll start calling it the playbill.
There you go.
Yeah.
I didn't know what run of show was until about a year or so ago.
Run of show?
Yeah, run of show.
I don't know that one.
I used to call it the agenda for an event.
Yeah.
It's called the run of show.
Yeah, we're going to implement that somehow.
Yeah. Like if you're having an event, see, run of show.
How about that? Yeah, that seems like...
We're not doing this in office daily. I will not do this for you daily. No.
This seems like a quirky thing that I need to implement.
Nope, you can hire for that.
Amanda, where's our run of show for Tuesday, May the 7th?
I'm sorry, Amanda. Don't ever ask her back.
The last thing on every run of show note will be prepare tomorrow's run of show notes.
I'll just constantly remind him he hasn't hired for that position yet.
That's funny.
Yeah. All right.
So I'm trying to, before you run me out, I'm trying to think of other things. So the Upstream Academy.
Yep.
Before too long, we will be preparing for the 2025 legislative session. Oh my gosh, like it just ended. But, by the time you have meetings and, get with coalitions and all of that, like 2025 will be here before we know it. The biggest thing probably for us will be our Kids Are Worth It conference. Again, September 9th and 10th.
Yeah.
Right now we have 6 staff. So 6 staff plan for 800 people. So it's a massive run of show.
Atta girl. Yeah.
So it's scheduling the speakers, and David, you know this, so we offer continuing education units. So that means we need the resumes or the vita from all the presenters. We have to have the learning objectives for each workshop. Scheduling, for out-of-state speakers, scheduling all of their travel, the meals, the breaks.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Something else.
In your bag of tricks.
Oh, gosh, don't tell me that I didn't bring this.
See, the staff's going to be listening to this next week. Hopefully they download it on each independent device they have.
Including YouTube.
Yeah, including the YouTubes, yes.
Gosh, don't.
And they're going to say, Jill, why didn't you take...
I didn't bring it.
See.
So we have a coloring book that features May and Cam, the KSP canine.
Oh, yeah.
Have you heard of May and Cam?
Uh-huh. Yep. And I saw something just come out about the coloring book.
Which is why I should have it in my bag.
They've been so popular, you had to give your last copy away. Huh?
Well, we ordered 13,000, so...
I was trying to, help you out there.
Surely. Well, anyway, these coloring books are phenomenal. They feature May and Cam, who are I don't have them, KSP canines. And David, you would probably even know more about this than I would. But so May and Cam have been trained to sniff out electronics. So when law enforcement serves a search warrant, and they bring one of the dogs, and there's something like in our cell phones and iPads and computers, some kind of cooling device or something that the dogs are trained to smell.
That's wild, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have 100% success rate in sniffing out those electronic devices.
Wow.
And they are also trained as emotional support dogs. So if there's children in the home where the search warrant is being served, then, hopefully the dogs will kind of help calm the kids down a little bit. They also go into schools. Each one of them have a handler. And so we unveiled the coloring book at our pinwheel planting in the end of March, and have just had a phenomenal response to it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And when we transition over to looking at pictures of dogs, I'll check out. I'll be staring at the screen for the next however long there's a picture of a dog on the screen.
I mean, look at him.
I know. How can you not love that?
Something that I learned. So we are looking at Cam right now. Cam was named for Trooper Ponder.
Mm-hmm.
Who?
Oh, yeah.
His name was Cameron.
Uh-huh. How about that?
Who was died in the line of duty.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Was shot and killed in line of duty.
Yeah.
How about that? I didn't know that.
I didn't either.
Yeah. Well, good for them. Good for Cam.
Yeah.
He's a proud looking dog.
Isn't he awesome?
Yeah, sure is. It's got the look, doesn't he?
He does. So anyway, we're very excited about the coloring books. They have received national attention. So, yay.
Yeah, big yay.
I mean,
That's
again, it's another tool. Like you wouldn't think like big deal coloring book, but the coloring book is just one more thing. One more thing.
Yeah.
That people who may not know about prevention, may not care about prevention, may not care about anything that we've talked about tonight, but they pick this coloring book up and they're like, oh, like, I'm a grandparent over 50 and I don't know, I'm raising my grandkid. I don't know anything about any of this stuff, but hey, this coloring book, this is great. You know, you never know what tool is going to register that might
That's right.
hit.
Yeah. So I'm thinking we've got to find some way to get people exposed to your library, I suppose. So all the stuff that's in your beautiful binder, they'll find that on the website, or they have access to that, or
Yes.
Okay.
That is a true statement. We could take the next 20 minutes for me to go through the binder and go through each topic, but yes.
Yes. Would you like to do that?
No.
Okay, great. We need to know where to find it.
Yes.
Got it. All right. What else do we need to talk about? We've covered a lot.
Amanda,
Yes.
I never met you before this evening.
Yes, ma'am.
You're
Yeah, here we go.
no, you're a delightful person. So
Wait a minute.
She hasn't been here long
Something's about
enough.
to happen.
no,
Definitely.
no, what I'm saying though is like David and I already had a connection, and David already knew. So is there something that you're like, oh gosh, I tuned out there for 10 minutes because I had no idea what she was talking about? Or is there something that you're like, I really wish that they would talk about whatever, because
I think every time I had a question, you got there.
okay.
So I don't personally have anything else.
Okay.
It's leaving me with, we need to be more involved and do more stuff. And so since we signed up as the partner, I've got to figure out.
Did you like how I shamed you into becoming
I
a
did.
partner?
I did. Whatever it was, I loved it if you shamed him. That's how we operate successfully here.
I'm like, how could you not have been a partner?
I have no idea. I remember talks of the partners being around, but I have no idea. And I sent like that email, like 4 different legal representatives. Like, I know I'm signing up for something. Can you figure out what I'm signing up for?
Don't you even have a plaque in your office?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
That's shameful. Honestly. That's how we operate around here. Again.
But I guess I wasn't really familiar with the partner program to you. I guess you sent an email to your Amanda
Yes.
to say, hey, connect. And I thought, partner program? I do remember talking of the partner program, but I don't remember what it was. And so I went to the website and looked it up, and I thought, why are we not a part of this from the beginning, way back when? Why are we not a part of this? And so anyway, I'm glad you sent it because it fits.
Did they not have partners when you were on the board?
No, they did. I think the partner's been around for a while, right? The partner program.
So that's on you, basically.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%. It's on me.
But it's a good example. Sometimes we have to be deliberate. Like even people within our own sphere, it's like, well, Jill knows that we'll do whatever we can do to help. Well, yes, I do. But I don't know everybody that you know. So how can we use you in whatever way that looks like,
I can certainly say for myself, when I was on the board, I worked at a different spot.
Yes.
And I had a different run of show for myself.
I did prepare cheat sheets for you.
Oh, yes, you did. Yes, you did. You always did. And so now my run of show would look different than what it would have way back when. And so I wouldn't have thought of my company then because I had my own separate thing going on. And then once you get busy with life and everything else that gets in the way, sometimes you don't go back and connect those dots that you knew of. And so, when you sent that, I thought, well, this is like the forest for the trees. I mean, this is like that really stupid, how do you not know this? Why are you not doing this prior? And I looked at your list of partners like, yep, we've done trainings for them. We've done trainings for them. Yep, we talk to them all the time. Yep, there's another person that we know. And you're like, oh my gosh, that was such an obvious thing for us to be part of. So,
you know what? It doesn't matter how you got here. We're glad that you are here.
Yes. Yes. And here we are
now
together.
we have our hooks in you.
Oh, my gosh.
We will not let you go. And you know that
I'm aware of
that's
that.
true.
Yes. Oh, I'm a testament to that.
Okay.
Yeah. It's hooks of love.
It is. It is. It really is.
It really
Think
is.
the world of you.
And I do you. I truly love you, and I have a lot of admiration for you and everything that you've accomplished. And to me, it's a great study and a great success. And hopefully you'll come back. You'll come back and be part of it. Yeah, pick. Yeah, she's looking at our guest schedule, which is mostly empty. Yeah. June will look even more emptier than that.
Well, but you're going to be on vacation,
Yes.
right?
Yes, that it will be, but
At least for one of the weeks.
we'll fill it up because our partner network says find us some people to fill in those days. It's that two-way street you talked about earlier.
That's right.
Yeah.
There could be a lot of partners on the partner list.
We don't know. We just don't know, but we'll get there.
I gave you some ideas
You
before
did.
we got on air.
Yes, you did. They're great ideas.
Okay.
We're gonna explore those ideas.
Okay.
Yeah. What else do we need to talk about?
I think that's it.
Most every show, I have this conversation about 5:00 every Monday with Amanda of, I really haven't prepared anything. I haven't looked up. I don't know how this show is going to last more than 15 minutes. And then here we are.
207.
Yeah. 207.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. And we've covered a lot. I like it.
Very important topics. I
Yeah.
hope that your listeners recognize that no matter who they are, where they see themselves and their life's journey, that they can make a difference in the life of a child, and we certainly need them in our prevention efforts.
There you go. We can't close any stronger than that. So let's leave that as the closing line. And we'll say until next time.
Okay.
Good.
Good.
Okay. Thanks, Jill.
Thank you.